Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked Fly Fishing, and today we're going to do another Canadian Atlantic salmon pattern called Besure by Robert Chaisson, or Robert Chaisson. I don't know if he uses a French pronunciation or an English one. Anyway, it's a predominantly green pattern, and I think it would do well for steelhead in green stained water, because that green would show up. I'm going to make a couple of small changes to the material in use, because I'm sort of going at more of a steelhead in mind. But you can go with the original dressing if you wanted to stay more traditional with the Atlantic salmon one. For the hook, I'm going to go with a size 2 salmon single, nice and big for steelhead. Our thread is this red Vivas. I'm going to use this Uni Mylar in a size 14. This is the small size. This is one of the changes. Normally it calls for oval tinsel. I'm going with Mylar because I feel it does a better job with the tag. Using this fluorescent pink UTC thread for the tag. The rib is going to be this Uni French oval small silver. The body is going to be this green Highlander Uni yarn. You could use any medium green wool will do. I've got my squirrel tail, and we've got some green saddle hackle for the hackle. So let's get going. Stop a little short of the hook point. Now for our Mylar. I get the thread out of the way. I've made the Mylar tag long because I'm going to be covering half of it with the pink, fluorescent pink. When you use Mylar underneath your fluorescent floss or thread, whatever you're using, you're going to help keep that floss nice and bright, and it won't get muddy from whatever color of thread you're using underneath it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring this thread forward, because we're going to wind on that pink like it's tying thread. We just need to get this out of the way. And I'm just going to cut this off because I'm going to cast it back on when I'm finished with the pink. Just a half hitch will do to keep that in place. Now, fortunately, with wool bodies, you don't have to get fussy with the thread that's underneath. If I was doing a very smooth floss body, I probably wouldn't do this, but I'm not particularly worried with the green wool. Okay, now for our rib. Now for our wool. And you notice I put my wool in a bobbin, because when you're putting on 3 turns like I will be doing, or 3 passes I should say, it's tough to gauge how much you're going to need, so I'm going to make sure I have plenty to work with. So because I've got a bump there, I'm going to hold the wool quite tight, squish it down. And as I come off the bump, I will back off the tension. It allows the wool to fluff up. So you can see we've ended up with a nice smooth wool body, despite kind of that underside being a little bit on the messy side. It's still, reasonably smooth. Finish that off, make sure it doesn't come loose. And now for the rib. So make a turn right at the back, then come forward. Bring your thread to the back. Okay, now for our squirrel tail wing, and we're going to stack it. It goes about to the end of the tag here. I'm going to trim it. Soft loop, then bind down tight. And now for our hackle, I've got a little tying in point here. I've cut. Bind that down. Now when you're doing this, be careful you don't break your hackle. But you want to try and fold this over so it lays back. Start winding. If you get any facing forward, just push them out of the way. We'll have an easier time with better quality hackle. This is the cheap stuff. And it doesn't always want to behave. Just fold it underneath and break it off. And like I've said before in other videos, when you have a nice bright red thread, make sure you have a nice bright red head. I mean, this part of the strike trigger, part of the attraction for this fly. And there's no point having nice bright red thread and you have a little wimpy head that doesn't show up. So let's finish this. Now for some head cement. Okay, there's our Besure. It's a nice bright fly. Should do well in green stained water, especially on a dull day with that fluorescent body and that fluorescent pink. It's quite a hot color combination. You could have a fluorescent green hackle if you want to go all the way, but I think the body and the tag is enough. So it's an attractive pattern. I really like it. So give it a try, to be sure. Cheers.